The SEC has 3 teams headed to the Sweet 16 after the first weekend of March Madness. Congrats to Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, and of course the fans out there as well. And to Texas A&M, Missouri, Auburn, Kentucky, hey, look, I know it's a disappointment. There are a lot of things to feel good about on the season. Better luck to you next year. We're going to recap the losers first from week 1, then we'll talk winners, and then we'll end with a look at our second chance bracket, aka the SEC recap redemption arc. So I'll go ahead and pull up my bracket here, I reckon. So we'll start with Texas A&M. Texas A&M out in round 1 versus Penn State. Penn State just a little too much to handle. I really like the Aggies this season, but I had a feeling I had Penn State picked over Texas A&M in my original bracket. I had a feeling that was just going to be a little too much for them. Let's talk Mizzou, Princeton. Mizzou, great game 1 over Utah State, feeling good, headed into round 2. Princeton, the darling, upset number 2, Arizona, big time win. Missouri did not look like they even belonged on the same court as Princeton. Chalk it up to experience, seniors, whatever. Missouri should have, had way more athleticism, way more physical talent. Princeton just outplayed them. I mean, they gave Arizona a scare. Didn't think they'd do it twice in a row to an SEC team. Princeton is headed to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1967. They're just physically matched with Missouri. They, out-rebounded 44-30, 16 offensive rebounds that led to 19 second chance points. Princeton will get the winner between Baylor and Creighton. That game will be in Louisville. Tigers, the Missouri Tigers, that is, good season, great offense. I think good things are in store there for Mizzou fans. For Missouri basketball fans in the future. But man, Princeton just showed up and Missouri did not have an answer. We will look at this bracket breakdown a little bit more when we get into our second chance bracket talk. Let's talk a little Houston and Auburn. So Auburn, good game 1 against Iowa. Those 8-9 games are always coin flips. Auburn, really solid showing, went up against Houston. Marcus Sasser ends up, playing through the groin pain. Guess he's still occasionally having issues, but when they came up against Marcus Sasser in Houston, it was a hot start. But once Houston got going, that was all she wrote. Auburn was just throwing up bricks the second half. Marcus Sasser had 22 points, 5 threes. They topped Auburn 81-64 in round 2. Tremont Mark added 26 points while after being down 10 at the half. Auburn just struggled in the second half. They went more than 10 and a half minutes without a field goal, finishing just 4 of 24 from the field. Houston had 12 blocks. Walker had most of those. Juwan Roberts had a few. Houston is headed to the Sweet 16 in Kansas City. They will face either Indiana or Miami. And guys, I'm recording this on Sunday afternoon. So some of these games are ongoing right now. Some will be played a little bit later, but I am looking at Marquette and Michigan State going at it right now. Michigan State currently leads 44-42. St. Mary's and UConn just hit the half. UConn up by a point, 31-30 over St. Mary's. We got Creighton Baylor coming up next. Fairleigh Dickinson, Florida Atlantic, Miami, Indiana, TCU, Gonzaga to end the night. So I am getting ahead of the Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening action here, but I'm going ahead and projecting out a little bit of my second chance bracket talk because I didn't want to wait till Monday morning. Plain and simple. All right, let's talk Kentucky. That game just finished a couple hours ago. Kentucky Wildcats versus the Kansas State Wildcats. That was a thriller, especially the late half. Kansas State overcame a really bad start, bad shooting from behind the arc. They missed 13 three-pointers, and then all the shots started falling. Marquise Knoll put on an amazing performance. What a stud. 23 of his 27 points in the second half. some clutch threes, a couple that dropped there in the last couple minutes of the game that just blew my mind, gave them the lead, and then they just sealed it there. Oscar Tshiebwe, very impressive, 25 point, 18 rebounds. Kansas State just outplayed it and outlasted you till the end. So Kansas State will get the winner of Marquette, Michigan State, which is going on right now. Kentucky, sorry, but you are out of it. In the same region, the East, Tennessee and Duke. Tennessee was just more physical than Duke. 65-52. Not really pretty first half offensively for either team. But in the second half, Tennessee just out-physicaled them and then found some success with Vescovi and Kamwa. Kamwa was by far away the stud, 27 points, 13 consecutive during that long stretch in the second half. Vescovi added 14, had 5 assists, played great defense. The Vol seniors just, providing that experience that you can't teach in these tournament type situations. Tennessee just more physical. It was a little too much for Duke. They were a bit undersized when you compared them to Tennessee. They were missing Mark Mitchell, but who knows how much of a difference that would have made. Tennessee will get the winner of Fairleigh Dickinson and FAU, who play tonight. And you gotta love that if you're a Tennessee fan. Man, that road to the Elite Eight got so much easier with Purdue falling to Fairleigh Dickinson. So now, not saying either one of those games are going to be easy. I expect FAU to win versus Fairleigh Dickinson, but who knows what's going to happen. But Tennessee's road, not having to play Purdue, not having to necessarily play a Memphis with all the drama between Tennessee and Memphis, that road to the Elite Eight, a lot easier for the Vols. All right, let's head on over to the West and talk Arkansas. Man, oh man, what a thriller. Arkansas got by Illinois, solid game. But the talk of the town is going to be that Kansas matchup. You take down a 1 seed, you're a tournament hero. Musselman, dude, those players after the game, that was something to watch. Musselman was, ripping his shirt off, climbing onto the press table, waving it over his head, as he does. Arkansas overcame some rough offensive play, some late foul trouble. But man, what a great game. Devontae Davis, 25 points. Ricky Council, 21 points. Rallying from a 12-point deficit in the second half. Kansas was ahead 35-27 at the halftime. But then Arkansas just took over. Arkansas now in the Sweet 16 for the 3rd straight year. They will get the winner of St. Mary's or UConn. That game is ongoing. And that will be for the West Region semifinals in Las Vegas. Finally here, we'll talk Alabama. Not a whole lot to say here. It was a relatively easy game when you compare it to some of the others. They won 73-51, kind of cakewalk. But you had to be thinking with number 1 seed Purdue having gone down, with number 1 seed Kansas having gone down, with Auburn that was leading number 1 seed Houston at the half. A lot of people were kind of wondering, might have been thinking, will there be any 1 seeds left after the second round? Will we have any 1 seeds in the Sweet 16? Well, Alabama put an exclamation point on that win. Javon Quinterly, 22 points. Brandon Miller, 19 points. They got hot. Alabama starters were able to sit in the final minutes of the game with a comfortable lead. That's always good. You want to see that. They will face 5 seed San Diego State in the Sweet 16. So guys, there's the quick recap. We're going to take a look at our second chance bracket predictions real quick. Before I get into that, just want to take a moment. If you look up here at the top left of your screen, you'll see the donate to the pod QR code. If at any point during this episode you feel so inclined, you can follow that QR code. It'll take you to the podcast homepage on Anchor. You can make a safe, secure donation, $1, a couple bucks, the cost of a cup of coffee, whatever it is. It helps me keep the show going, and I'm ever so grateful to all of you. Also, always got merch for sale, and I'm featuring Alabama, the number 1 seed Alabama SEC Pride hoodie there on my Bonfire store. That link will also be in the video description or episode description if you're listening to the podcast. But I've got SEC Pride t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, you name it. Every SEC team. It's got the state name. the school name, the state outline, and then the mascot logo in the geographic location of the school. They're very, very cool. I've got them in a variety of school associated colors. And we've got a long sleeve, short sleeve, hoodie, jacket, whatever you prefer. It's there. Go check it out. Bonfire.com/store/SEC recap. All right, guys. The SEC recap redemption arc. Now, I'm way ahead, right? These games are ongoing. Let's check back in with our scores here. Michigan State up 52-47 over Marquette. Could have an upset alert there. And St. Mary's UConn at the half. So I'll start here in the South. We know we have Alabama versus San Diego State. San Diego State, really, really good. They put a statement over with the win over Furman. But I feel confident about Alabama moving ahead over San Diego State there. If you're watching along on YouTube, I'm not penciling or writing these in. I just have a printed bracket that I filled out myself. So I'm not writing these in as we go. I'm just projecting out here for those of you following along in audio form. Also in the South, we have Princeton, who will be playing the winner of Creighton or Baylor. That game is tonight at 6:10 p.m. Actually, that game should be tipping off really soon. It is 6:10 Central Time right now. So we should be getting tip-off there. Princeton played good. I think this is usually where that Cinderella story taps out. I don't know who I prefer yet. Creighton, Baylor. I think Creighton is a 1.5-point favorite over Baylor. So maybe I'll lean Creighton there. But whoever, whether it's Creighton or Baylor, I like either one of those teams to advance over Princeton. So I think we'll get an Alabama, I'll just say Creighton Elite Eight or an Alabama Baylor Elite Eight. And then when it comes to Alabama or Baylor, not having to go through Arizona anymore with Princeton taking them down, I like Alabama now to go all the way to the Final Four. I initially had them tapping out against Arizona in the Elite Eight, but their path got a lot easier. You love that if you're a Crimson Tide fan. So give me Alabama making their way out of the South into the Final Four. Let's head on over to the Midwest. We had Xavier, who stomped Pitt earlier today, and we had Texas with the win over Penn State. So we know we're going to get the Xavier-Texas matchup. I don't have a strong leaning here. I couldn't even tell you who's favored now. I'd have to look a little bit ahead if those games are even posted. Let me see if I can find that here. Texas currently a 3.5-point favorite, so maybe I lean Texas here over Xavier. Then Houston will have the winner of Miami or Indiana. That game being played tonight, this evening as well, 7:40 Central Time tip. I still like Houston in that game. I originally took Houston all the way to the Final Four. Not much has changed for me there, especially with Marcus Sasser still playing. So give me Texas as the winner of Texas Xavier. Give me Houston as the winner of either Miami or Indiana. And then I will continue to take Houston over, let's say, Texas into the Final Four. So coming out of the South, I got Alabama. Coming out of the Midwest, I'm going to stick with the Houston Cougars. We'll travel on down to the Western region. 2 games left to be played, 1 ongoing. We have Arkansas facing the winner of St. Mary's and UConn. That game really, really close. Just a 1-point game at the half right now. I was leaning UConn. We'll see. It could be St. Mary's. I think I might like Arkansas over both of those teams. Just having seen what I've seen in the first couple rounds. Initially, I would have said if it's St. Mary's, I like Arkansas. But if it's UConn, I like UConn over Arkansas. I don't know. I'm kind of looking to take the Hogs maybe into the Elite Eight over St. Mary's or UConn. So why not? This is an SEC podcast. I'm going to say an SEC homer. Let's do it. Woo Pig Suey. Give me Arkansas going to the Elite Eight. Then we have UCLA, who won over Northwestern. They'll get the winner of TCU Gonzaga. I had Gonzaga going deep all the way to the Final Four. If TCU is the winner, I'll take UCLA. But if Gonzaga is the winner here, I'll take Gonzaga over UCLA. So that would give me an Arkansas-Gonzaga Elite Eight matchup in the West. And that's where it ends for the Hogs for me. I like Gonzaga to get out of the West into the Final Four to face Houston. So Gonzaga out of the West, Houston out of the Midwest for that Final Four matchup. Finally, over to the East, our final division. Kansas State, the winner of today. Tennessee over Duke yesterday. Tennessee will get the winner of Fairleigh Dickinson or FAU. If Fairleigh Dickinson somehow pulls that one out of their Fairleigh Dickinsons, I like Tennessee. In fact, I love Tennessee to get to the Elite Eight. FAU, great team. I'm a little more concerned about Tennessee versus an FAU. But if the Vols are finally finding some offense, that was always the biggest question without Zakai Ziegler. But if they've got Kamwa stepping up and Vescovy and Tyreek Key and guys who can make some shots when it counts, I like Tennessee. So you know what? Whether it's FAU, whether it's Fairleigh Dickinson, SEC podcast, I'm going to say an SEC homer. Give me Tennessee going to the Elite Eight. I would favor them in versus either one of those teams. No doubt. Then Kansas State will get the winner of Michigan State Marquette. This game is coming down to the wire. 3.5 minutes left. Michigan State leads by 2, 56-54. I originally had Marquette coming out into the Elite Eight and beating probably either Memphis or Purdue, whoever I had winning that bracket, or possibly Duke. Maybe I had Duke and going to the Final Four. But if we get a Michigan State, I like Kansas State over Michigan State to face Tennessee in the Elite Eight. If Marquette comes out of this matchup alive, I still might like Kansas State. So give me Tennessee versus Kansas State in an Elite Eight matchup. And man, that's a tough one. Tennessee, though, physicality, that defense, I think they might be favored versus Kansas State. Now, Kansas State can hit. When they hit threes, I don't know that Tennessee could keep up with them scoring-wise if they can hit those threes. But if Tennessee could limit that, then I like Tennessee. So I'll project Tennessee to come out of the East region. Oh, it just feels wrong saying that for some reason. But that's what I'm going to do. Tennessee coming out of the East region for their first ever Final Four. Am I really saying that? Are those words really coming out of my mouth? Could Rick Barnes do that? Guys, let me know in the comments. Am I crazy here? I feel like a madman right now. Okay, so that means they would face Alabama again. They beat Alabama in the regular season. Boy, that would be phenomenal. A phenomenal Final Four matchup. So out of the East, Tennessee facing Alabama out of the South, Gonzaga out of the West, facing Houston out of the Midwest. From those matchups, I like Houston over Gonzaga. Gonzaga is a great team too, though. I might have to revisit that one when Second Chance brackets go live later tonight. By the way, stay tuned because I will post my for real Second Chance bracket. I'll post it in the comments on this video and I'll post it on my website. So by the time you're watching this, I may have adjusted some of these predictions, but this is just how I feel in the moment. And then Alabama, Tennessee. Tennessee beat Alabama in the regular season, but neutral site. As hot as Alabama is, as good as they score, I just don't see it happen again, especially without the point guard play that Tennessee has had before Zakai Ziegler went down. So give me an Alabama versus Houston matchup. This is a big change from what I had in my initial bracket. Oh, do I pick Alabama? Do I pick Houston? I'm an SEC podcast. What would I be doing if I picked against the SEC team? So if we get an Alabama versus Houston championship matchup, give me Alabama, the Crimson Tide to roll to get that national championship. The path just looks so clear for them right now. Houston's playing good, but if anything happens to Marcus Sasser and they lose him or he's unable to finish out the tournament, man, you just love the chances for whoever they might be facing in that national championship. So give me Alabama over Houston Final score, I don't know, anything that adds up to 140. Final score, we'll say 75 to 68, Alabama. So there you have it. There's my second chance SEC recap redemption arc. I'm taking Alabama all the way to win it all. Stay tuned. I'll post that on my Twitter. By the way, if you don't follow me on Twitter, you can follow me there at SEC Recap. I don't tweet a lot, but I've been tweeting more during the tournament. After tournament wraps up, of course, we'll be talking spring football. We'll be talking fall camp as we get through the summer. We'll hit on a little bit of baseball too, especially as the World Series starts to unfold. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment below, donate to the pod if you feel so inclined, or head to my Bonfire store and check out that sweet SEC Pride merch. I'll be tweeting along right here with you all tournament long, recapping the action as we go through. Stay good. I will catch you all on the next episode of the SEC Recap Podcast.